Hey guys, Mulligan here. I thought I'd bring you guys a match with some post commentary instead of live commentary. One thing I just want to get out of the way, I do not plan to do this type of content unless you guys really want it. So let me know in the comments if you do. This is just a bit of a placeholder until Eternal Air starts up again next month. But I was climbing ladder and I happened to run into the one and only Unearthly. And this game did actually happen a while back, around the time that the Azendo's Ways promos came out. But this is a pretty intense match, so let's jump right in. And I was almost positive Unearthly was playing Rakano, because who wouldn't think that? And my opening hand was what I like to call a trap hand. The hand is amazing only if I draw power 2 to 3 times. Lightning Storm was is good versus Rakano early on, but I play super safe and redraw. I think I probably should have risked it since I ran 27 power though in hindsight. So I get a less exciting hand, but it's still serviceable. Of course, we exchange pleasantries. The reason why I take my time turn 1 is I'm trying to decide whether or not to use Permafrost on this turn 1 Oni running to slow down the Warcry train and save it for something else later. Like Valkyrie Enforcer that has Hammer of Might equipped or something. But I go ahead and use it. And I think it was the correct choice, since if I wait until that situation comes up, I could get blown out by a Deep Forge Plate. And Lightning Storm does make Permafrost less appealing, but I don't have it in hand. Now here, I could have went with the Initiate of the Sands on turn 2 for the turn 3 Sandstorm Titan, but I went with Friendly Wisp instead for a few reasons. I had planned to try and trade with this Crown Watch Paladin and force any combat tricks out of his hand, mainly Finest Hour. And I have a turn 3 play in Ageless Mentor anyway, and she buffs Titan to a 7/8 for turn 4. Now, this also sticks with the plan of slowing down the Warcry train. So I'm going to go ahead and play the Ageless Mentor here. And Unearthly is actually playing a Tinker Overseer, which is not too surprising coming from Unearthly, but I guess if another player was playing Overseer, I'd be a little surprised. But I top deck Dawnwalker here. I go ahead and swing with my Mentor. And then this changes the plan though. So I decide to go with Initiate plus Dawnwalker over Sandstorm Titan, since I just want to get my Dawnwalker going so I can recur it with Titan and the other 5 power units I will likely draw. I also just want to start racing, since Unearthly has a flyer in play now that I can't block currently. And even if Dawnwalker trades with this board, it's killing something and still dealing face damage. So the Hammer of Might comes down, as expected, and now this Overseer is a 6/6. And on this turn, I'm actually going to decide to swing with everything, because I want to be able to keep up in the race. And Unearthly actually doesn't end up blocking with the Paladin at all, so he definitely values it over trading with Initiate to deny me power. And I'm going to go ahead and drop the Titan here, as planned on the 4th turn. Now, we're going to actually see why he values the Paladin, because the Deep Force Plate is actually going to get equipped. Even it gets equipped on the Overseer though. I can't block with Sandstorm Titan, and at the time I didn't think there was a difference between 6 and 8 life, since Rakano Plate typically doesn't run burn spells like Obliterate, so I chose not to ambush in my Stormlinks. I guess I could have played around Double Torch, but I valued my Stormlinks, and I was hoping to eventually flood the board with big guys and set up an Alpha Strike, ideally with Crystallize. Being a 6 here affects my decisions for the rest of the game, and I have to play very cautiously so to not die to combat tricks. Titan is never attacking until that Tinker Overseer is gone. And after playing the Rhinoc I got off Amber Monument, I could have swung potentially to get 12 damage in, but I didn't want to lose the game to Vanquish. So I decided to play around Vanquish by not attacking at all. I could have done something like swing with just the 5/5s, which I believed here I considered, but I just wanted as many blockers as possible, and I had no good follow-up in my hand if I lost one of them. So I'm actually going to end up passing here. There's not much action for the next several turns here, actually. Unearthly ends up passing it back to me, not having anything to do. And on my turn, I end up drawing air, so I don't have anything else to do either here. I don't really have any good attacks. Again, the plan is to flood the board enough to where I can set up some type of Alpha Strike, or maybe even a 2-turn lethal. So I end up passing it back to Unearthly. And here it looks like he top decks the Champion of Glory and goes ahead and plays it. And I'm going to top deck False Prince, and I'll go ahead and lay that out as well. But I don't really have anything else to do beyond that. I still don't want to attack into this board unless I know I can set something up. Unearthly, unfortunately, whiffs again on his turn, and he doesn't have anything to do, so he's going to end up passing it back to me, actually. And this is where things get a little bit interesting here. I actually end up top decking Polymorph. Now, I end up using it on the Tinker Overseer, and initially I thought this was a huge misplay. You would think, well, why wouldn't I use it on the 6/6 Champion of Glory? It seems like a much better target. In hindsight, using it on Tinker Overseer isn't that bad of a play, mainly because it loses flying, which means if Sandstorm Titan catches a Vanquish, I don't instantly lose the game. This is one of the situations you see where you wish you had Praxis Displacer, but as I've said in the past, I like Polymorph because it's proactive against every deck, and Displacer is really bad in some matchups, and Scorpion Wasp would be no better in this situation. So Unearthly ends up dropping a Rakano Outlaw. I end up drawing air again, and I have to end up passing back to him. And Unearthly, it looks like he draws air as well, because he does nothing but play a power and then passes it right back to me. And here I top deck the second Amber Monument that's now a Rhinearch. And I realize here that I'm going to need to try to end the game, actually. So there's been a change of plans. A couple reasons. I'm only running one copy of Crystallize in this version of the deck versus the possible 2 to 3 Vanquish from Unearthly, and neither deck really runs card draw. I also run 4 Whispering Wind to try to fish for the Crystallize, but I haven't drawn any, and I'm pretty sure I was relying on drawing one so I could pitch a card to try to find the Crystallize. I think for a long time here, because I'm going through all the math in my head and the different possible scenarios, because if anyone's been paying attention, there was a pause on Unearthly's previous turn, so I'm trying to play around Finest Hour as well. But the general plan here is to set up a possible 2-turn lethal, still have enough blockers to kill the 10/10 Frog even with Finest Hour. And if he chooses to use Finest Hour on either Rakano Outlaw or Crownwatch Paladin and block the Dawnwalker, I will just get it back with the Rhinearch during this combat. And Dawnwalker still trades with the Paladin, but I'm not even looking for that trade. As far as the 6/6 Champion of Glory, my plan is to just chump block it with the Initiate. And I'm hoping to trade on Unearthly's next turn with either the Crownwatch Paladin or the Rakano Outlaw using Ageless Mentor. Unearthly thinks for a long time here, up to the point where he's almost out of time to make his decision on how he's going to defend against this attack. I'm sure he's wondering why I'm attacking with these 4 particular units. But he ends up making a peculiar choice here. And he will end up using the Finest Hour, and he's choosing to double block my False Prince. But the Finest Hour goes on Crownwatch Paladin. And initially, I wasn't sure why he did this, but in hindsight, the reason why he did was to actually play around Lightning Storm, which is not in my hand. So for the record, I just want to go ahead and say this attack from me was not a bluff. I legitimately wanted to set up a situation where I possibly had lethal next turn and still have enough blockers to kill the Frog, chump block the champion, and block the Rakano Outlaw, even if Unearthly had a second Finest Hour for the Frog. Now, I also could have went up to 8 power to play Ageless Mentor into the other Rhinearch, which would be a 7/7, but I thought leaving power open for Stormlinks was more important. And it's actually going to end up playing out here. He top decks the Shogun Scepter and goes ahead and equips it onto the champion. And he's going to end up swinging with the Frog and the 8/7 champion. And here, I'm going to go ahead and ambush the Stormlinks in, which it turns out I didn't really need to until the end of my turn. But I think I just reacted way too quickly. But Unearthly's being very careful here before he commits to this attack. which, I mean, I can't blame him because now the game's really close. But I go ahead and ambush the Stormlinks in. After almost snap chump blocking the Champion of Glory with the Initiate of the Sands and declaring blockers, which, again, it did not end up being a huge deal, but at the time, I thought it was big. So I actually am going to end up, after thinking about it here, triple blocking the 10/10 frog, which was the plan the entire time. This is what I was waiting the entire game for, was to trade off my Sandstorm Titan for the frog, which has a Hammer of Might and a D-Force plate on it. And there's no combat tricks from Unearthly, which is insane. Granted, that triple block was, again, to be able to still kill the frog, even if he had Finest Hour. So I top deck power, which is not needed at all at this point. And I decide to just go ahead and go for the lethal. But here I leave the Ageless Mentor back in case I needed an additional blocker just for some reason. But I think I played it a bit too safe here. For those paying attention, at the end of my previous turn, there was no pause, and Unearthly did draw a card. Now, I believe that the way the game works is that your opponent's hand is still randomized, meaning if they top deck a card, it goes to the very right of their hand, but when they play the card, it doesn't mean that was their top deck card. But someone correct me if I'm wrong, but my attack is lethal, and that was a very, very tough game for me. I talked with Unearthly a bit after the game, and it turns out it was pretty tough for him too. He ended up drawing air when he wanted to draw Vanquish, which he never saw all game. And these are the games you have to deal with when you're laddering in Masters. But that's what people play the game for, myself included. But that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to leave a like if you liked the video. Feel free to leave a dislike if you didn't. Again, let me know in the comments section below if you all want to see more of this type of thing, or if I have a really good game, I can upload it with post commentary. And as always, I'd like to know if there's anything I can do to improve my content as well. I'm open to constructive criticism. Again, thanks for taking time out of your day to watch this, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.